This is an HR program on demand, a living seed capsule of work life and workplace coming live from a rooftop in Stockholm, Sweden. It's me, Ann-Marie Andrich, and
me, Katarina Berg.
a vodcast, if you like, on HR, straight across the counter. Sponsored by HR The Real Deal, HR by HR for HR. Hi, Alex.
Hey, Ann-Marie.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Always nice to have you
Lovely
here.
to be here.
Now, we have such an interesting topic to cover today
Yes.
that everyone is chatting about.
Are you from
I'm
Gothenburg?
from Gothenburg.
Of
I
course.
wish I wasn't, but no, sorry. I'm not. But that was
You wish you were.
That was a pun, right?
Yeah.
So we're talking about ChatGPT and AI.
Yes.
Yes.
The future.
The future, exactly. So let's start with, and I mean, clearly everyone is talking about it.
Yes.
I'm not sure that everyone knows what it is.
No.
I'm sure that there are people out there who are confused, maybe people who are scared, maybe people who are excited. So we have I think we have all of the emotions out there, right? But if you were to describe, let's start with ChatGPT. What is it?
It's a sophisticated search engine, basically.
Yeah.
Google 2.0 is a good example to use. So it takes huge amounts of data, many trillion rows of data, and tries to learn that data. And then you ask it questions and it replies more as a conversation than as a list of search results that you get today if you go on to Bing or to Google or something.
Right. Have you tried it? Sorry, go ahead.
Yes,
I'm so eager to ask the questions.
But it's more like having a conversation, and you can ask follow-up questions as well.
But you were onto something. Sorry.
No, that was what I was going to say. So you can do follow-up questions to get it to be more specific, and it's like having a conversation, and the tone of voice is like a conversation as well. So it's pretty amazing from that perspective.
So then, making an assumption, you tried.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've tried many times.
So what do you do? What do you do with it?
I was gonna reject a meeting invite that Katarina sent me, and I asked it to write it in a very polite way. That's one example.
You did.
And it did, in a very nice and polite way. Instead of saying this is a time waste, it said that thank you for the invite.
Yeah,
Joking
I know.
aside, but that's how you can use it in everyday work. My mom, that's like 2 generations above, uses it for her friend group to talk about how it impacts culture in the future. And it gives you all these insights. But it's important to also note that when you get the list of results on Google or Bing, as an example, you have to go in and read the data yourself, and you see the sources, what web pages you get the information from. Now it's like a conversation. And these AI bots, if you want to call it that way, they can hallucinate. So it's not always the truth that they're giving you back. It's like a average of large amounts of data that it's telling you. So it doesn't always have to be accurate. It's very accurate though.
Right.
But that's the scary part. So you have to be a bit cautious.
Right.
But it can help you write text, it can help you send invites, it can help you build presentations, do videos, a bunch of different things to save you time, basically.
Yeah. And clearly it is a revolution in a sense that it will impact, it already has impacted society in general, right?
Yeah.
And we clearly, in our profession, we also see that it has already, but it will even more have an impact on what kind of skills, what kind of roles will we have in working life going forward, and so forth. What are your thoughts on, let's say, the future of work in relation to AI and ChatGPT?
Well, I think we've talked about AI for many years,
Yeah.
but we haven't really adopted it. We haven't seen how it can change our life. We've gotten recommendations in our playlists. That's an enhancement, of course, and
True.
it gives you new flavors of music, as an example. But you and I have never been able to use it for ourselves. So now the change actually happens. Now you and I start to use it, my mom starts to use it, everyone starts to use it. So the adoption rate is high, and that means that I think this is the next big thing in work life. So you can look at it as how we automated industries a few decades ago. You can look at it how computers evolved white collar work, as an example. And I think this is the next thing that will evolve how we work.
Yes.
So in the short run, I think we overestimate it. In the long run, I think we underestimate it. So we should wait maybe 2 years before we see the full impact, but it will definitely change what type of skills are needed, what type of skills organizations are looking for, and so on, which also then puts a big responsibility on us as employers and what we can do to help enable this change. Another thing, just to understand how much this has evolved the last few years, I think the first time I started to use ChatGPT was maybe a year ago, not even that. No, not even a year ago, it was shorter than that. But initially you asked it the question and it could predict what you were about to write, basically. So I were about to write thank you, I wrote thank, it could see that it's connected to you. Today it builds its own ecosystem to try and predict your intent, like where are you going? So it builds like a small brain or ecosystem of context where it tries to model what you're talking about and then try to predict what you're saying. And all that have happened in a very short amount of time. So we can just imagine what this will do to work life and the way we use it in the future. I think it's crazy. It's,
it is.
It's huge.
Yeah. It's like, how do you even grasp the change?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ask ChatGPT and it will tell you. I actually did that on your first question. Like,
you did?
How will it change the future of work?
Yeah.
And the answer was, which I think is fairly accurate, it will be an enhancement tool. It needs to complement individuals today. It won't replace people, so humans always have to be in the loop. But it will make you be able to focus on other things, which is maybe more strategic thinking, associative thinking, creative thinking. And then it can produce things for you. It won't, at least not as we know it today, be able to replace like new original production of things. But it will most likely be able to do some of that in the future as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah. Again,
it's daunting.
It's very daunting, right? So go ahead.
If you look at HR as an example, like how you screen resumes, HR operations, all of those roles will change in the future. So we have responsibility to make sure that everyone stays relevant and the skills that we train our people for are relevant for the future. And this will then be an enhancement. And if you take HR operations as an example, today you might get answers from the HR inbox or the ticket that you send into Jira that slightly differ depending on who you ask. Like I'm not the most policy-driven person, so I might be more generous in my responses than someone else.
Right.
But this could help standardize and create more fairness across the organization in how we respond and reply to those things.
Fantastic. So curious to know, how are you like adopting to this shift at Spotify?
At the moment, we're mostly talking about what we think it will do to our workforce and what we might need in the future. But we haven't made any decisions yet and we don't know yet.
Right.
But I think the realization is that it's here to stay and you can't stop it. There's been conversations about that as well. And just to give you a very specific example, like, should you forbid ChatGPT when people write their resumes, and should you evaluate them differently? Or when you write your promotion case, should we say no to using ChatGPT, or should we actually lean into the space? And the realization is quite obvious. It's like piracy.
Yeah.
You couldn't stop piracy. You needed to find a new way. That new way was streaming.
Yeah.
Spotify saw that opportunity. So what's streaming in this future context when it comes to writing your resume or your promotion case or what have you? You need to find other ways to evaluate skills, and you need to understand what will be necessary in the future and what skills actually matters in the future, and then you look for those versus trying to stop it, because it's definitely here to stay.
It's definitely here to stay. How do you, with every change comes, resistance, fear, adoption. You have all of these emotions. How do you manage the colors of all of those emotions at Spotify?
I think it's not a one-time thing. Like, we can't look at it from the lens of ChatGPT, or ChatGPT is one large language model, so it's large language models that we're talking about. We can't look at it from the perspective of those and what they will do. You have to build a resilient culture that's open to change, that dares to try out new things. And if you have that culture, it doesn't matter if it's large language models that will change things or work from anywhere
Right.
or something else, because it's ingrained in everyone's DNA. Like, change is something we embrace. It feels uncomfortable, but you bear through it and you try it out and you see how you can adopt and change based on what's happening in your surrounding to survive for the future, basically.
True.
So I think it's, and that's what ChatGPT told me as well. I actually asked it to read our blog, our HR blog. And like, dear ChatGPT, I'm always friendly because you never know with the bots if they start to turn on you, so you have to be friends with them.
Are you
But dear
seriously?
ChatGPT, read our HR blog,
Yeah.
and based on that and your prediction about the future workforce, do you think Spotify is ready or not to adopt this new technology? And the response was, based on your blog, you've built a culture of like experimentation, challenging status quo, and embracing the new. So I think you're well prepared. You just have to
Fantastic.
be mindful about how it will impact people and their fears about the future, and just what we're talking about now.
A
So
very
that was
clever answer.
a very clever bot, and we're friends still.
You're
I
still
said,
friends.
thank you. Great response. Positive reinforcement is good, I've heard.
I think anything. I just love it that you're like trying to be friends and have a
have
very
to be.
friendly tone. Okay, that's
You
a
never
good
know
piece
what
of
happens.
advice. Exactly. Okay. I know that there are quite a few of our peers who are a bit, having a lot of questions, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously we are HR, we are in the organizations, people turn to us. We also know that it will have an impact on our people and our organizations. Do you think that we can somehow like come together as an HR community to, learn from one another, to share our knowledge and help ourselves in this change?
Definitely, I think we have a big societal responsibility.
Yeah.
So if we look at the Industrial Revolution again, we started to industrialize how we produced things, and then we started to automate how we produced things. And in that process, when we started to automate it with robots, we had to reskill people so they could operate the robots instead of standing by the conveyor belt. And I think that's the era that we're entering into now as well. Some roles will be obsolete, some roles will change, there will be a need for other roles in the future. And I think we play a big role in making those predictions and ensuring that people stay relevant for the future. Don't just train them for your organization, but train them for themselves.
Exactly.
And then we go back to our mantra, if people grow, Spotify grows.
Right.
And you grow them for not only Spotify, you grow them for their own career, because that's how you build engagement and loyalty and all of those things.
Yeah.
So leaning into that space, like predicting the future, helping reskill society at large, but the people that you can reskill at least, and make sure that they stay relevant for the future. I think that's a responsibility on all of us.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Beautiful. And stay friendly to ChatGPT. Have a friendly tone.
Of course. You never know.
Beautiful. So a short chat on GPT. I'm sure that we will invite you back because again, the change is fast and a lot of things is happening, right?
Definitely. Thank you.
We will close the session now, and I will now, because I'm so proud of my Stockholm sweater, I need to show it to everyone on the roof. Shall we close it?
Yes.
Yes, okay.
You start and I follow.
Okay.
Stay safe, stay strong, stay active. I medalje.